Hi guys! I hope you have all had a wonderful Christmas and New Year. I would like to say a great big happy 2025 to all of you, and we're going to kick this year off with a video that has been requested by a few different viewers. People ask me quite often, why do I need to use specialist software when it comes to printing my cards and prints? Well, we're going to have a look today at what happens when you use the standard computer, either Mac or Windows photo viewer versus specialist software. Let's jump in. So today I'm going to show you the main difference between printing using either the Windows photo viewer or the Mac photo viewer versus using a specialist software. The biggest difference that you're going to see is the quality and clarity when it comes to the colours. When you use a specialist software where you can actually tweak the printer settings, you're going to see something that is much closer to the original design compared to just the photo viewer where you don't really have much control. For today's example, we are going to be printing a print. For today's example, I am going to be demonstrating the differences using this print here. It's something that I designed and drew in Procreate and obviously made sure that it was set up for CMYK rather than RGB colour profile. So first up, let's see what happens when we try to print it using the Windows photo viewer.
So we're going to start with the matte version, and I press print, and you can see that this is a very basic dialogue compared to what we're used to using with the printer. In fact, the only changes that you can really make are the size and the media. So I've pressed matte and we're going to see what it looks like.
So today, to test out these printer settings and the differences between the Windows or Mac preset viewer and the specialist software, I'm going to be using the Paper Cutz 300 GSM double-sided matte photo card and their inkjet waterproof glossy version too. As always, I'll drop links to everything that I've used in the description box down below.
So I'm trimming my cardstock down to A5 just to save on printing, and the Paper Cutz cardstock cuts really well on just this simple Amazon trimmer, the link to which is in my description box down below. For the print settings, all I could add was the matte photo setting and A5, which obviously with this setup you can't print borderless. For the gloss version, we've done exactly the same, but obviously changed it to gloss and made sure that the colour mode is on.
Okay, so this version has been done on gloss and this has been done on matte. So on camera you can see that the gloss version here has got a much better depth of colour compared to the matte. However, I'm sure you will agree that both of them look a little washed out compared to the original design. So we're now going to have a look what the difference looks like when we use a proper design and print software such as Affinity Designer.
So straight away in Affinity, the biggest difference is that you're able to set up your document for print ready. This means you can change the colour profile and the DPI that it's going to print at. I've made my document A5 and then obviously added on my graphic, and then I've changed all of the colour management tools to give the best results for my printer. So for me, that is using the colour profile, making sure that the app handles the printing, and then changing the colour settings within the printer window itself, which is a tool that we didn't have access to in Windows Photo Viewer. Obviously, I need to make sure that the media type has been edited to either matte or gloss depending on what I'm using, and there's been a lot of trial and error for me to figure out what the best settings are in Affinity Designer.
So if we start with the gloss versions, this one here has been printed with the Windows Photo Viewer, and this one here has been printed with Affinity Designer. It's a little tricky to see on camera here, so I am going to give an overview in a second, but you can see that the one that has been done on Windows Photo Viewer is slightly washed out and the colours are more muted, whereas the one that has been printed with Affinity Designer, where we're able to tweak the settings, the colours are much more richer and there's none of that washed out setting. And if we look again at the Mac version, this one is the Windows Photo Viewer and this one is the Affinity Designer. And again, on the Windows Photo Viewer, although my camera is doing an amazing job at making everything a bit more brighter and bolder, as you can see from the overview that I will pop in a second, the colours are just a little bit more muted when you compare it to the Affinity Designer version, where they're a lot more bolder and there's a real depth of colour to them. Another big difference is that in Affinity Designer, you're actually able to play with the color settings. So if I wanted to increase the brightness and saturation, I would be able to do that quite easily. Whereas with the Windows Photo Viewer version, we are just basically stuck with the preset settings that are on there. There is no ability to tweak the colors at all. So obviously I understand that whereas the system photo viewers like Windows and Mac are free and pre-installed, you may be worried that the specialist software comes with a specialist price tag. Now, as regular viewers know, I have mentioned several times that Affinity Designer does have a free trial that you can test out before you decide whether or not it's right for you. It is a program that I have been using for years, and it is a program that I create all of my designs for all of my printed goods in, because I just find there is a great amount of flexibility in it, and the cost comparison between that and something like Adobe Illustrator or Designer is well, there's no comparison. Basically, you have to pay either a huge one-off fee for Adobe or a monthly rolling subscription, which works out really expensive, whereas I believe I paid £50 for my Affinity Designer. They also have an iPad version available, and that was only £20. But if you're looking for a free alternative, you will know that I use Silhouette Studio a lot for printing, and although it doesn't have the ability to tweak all of the colours just like you saw me do with Affinity Designer, it does give you control over the printer settings, whereas the Windows Photo Viewer that is preset on most systems now doesn't. So that is definitely a very good option for you if you want something that is free. Even better if you are one of my returning crafters and you already own a Silhouette cutting machine. I'm not sure about Cricut, it's not a machine that I own. Obviously drop me a comment down below if you're able to access the printer setting interface like you can in Silhouette Studio. I would love to know. Now, obviously the paper that you use is going to make a huge difference. Back when I first got my Canon, I was unaware that Paper Cutz had their great 300 GSM photo quality cardstock. I had used them for years previously for their A3 cardstock for all of my Paper Cutz cards and frame designs, but it's only in the last few years that I have found this amazing product from them and started using it. This helps immensely. Back when I was just using, I think it was the Unikit 320 GSM card, there was a huge difference when I was using a Windows Photo Viewer printout versus when I was actually going in and looking at all of the settings in Affinity Designer and managing to tweak them to give the best possible outputs. Although you can see there is a difference in quality versus the Windows Photo Viewer and the Affinity Designer, when you use the Paper Cutz cardstock, you don't have to go quite so far with tweaking everything, which is a real time save. It also means that you get much better results time after time, whereas with the Unikit card, I was finding that sometimes for completely unknown reasons, I was getting a bad batch and the print quality wasn't great at all. So I hope that you have found this video helpful. It is going to answer all of those questions that I get about the correct kind of software and the settings. Obviously, the settings that I use are completely personal to my Canon IP8750 printer and the compatible inks that I use and the Paper Cutz cardstock. You will need to play around with the settings to try and make sure that you are getting the best quality possible. But the number one place to start is definitely upgrading your cardstock to something like the Paper Cutz photo paper. If you have any questions, drop them down below and I will do my best to answer them. I always get back to my viewers. If you've enjoyed this content, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. I post videos every Friday and they are either craft alongs with me or I share business tips as well, as I know that some of my viewers have their own small business. And in the interest of reaching out to my viewers that have their own small businesses, Drop the link to your shop, whether that's Etsy, website, Facebook, I don't mind, in the comments down below. I would love to see what you are all making. Likewise, if you have an Instagram where you perhaps share your personal crafts, I would love to see them, so just drop the link down below. I'd like to say a big thank you to my sponsors of today's video, which are Paper Cutz. I'm a huge fan of their products and I have been using them for over 13 years now. They are a company that I have been recommending far before they knew about me and my channel. So I will see you next time. Bye!